For over 30 years now, I've been enjoying the world that is Shadowrun, but across all of its 6 editions, I still haven't found the perfect or the most enjoyable edition for me. My current favourite, I say favourite, I haven't played it for a while because it is quite rules heavy, is 4th edition. I haven't quite got into 6th as yet. But Shadowrun is a futuristic fantasy setting that includes dwarves, elves, dragons, magic, cybernetics. Think of the film the Will Smith Bright movie, but crossed over with a sort of Dungeons and Dragons theme. It's a tremendous world, a wonderful idea. Sadly, I say across 6 editions, they keep bringing in, trying new things. And I remember first came out and they fixed a few things into second, and then second just made the Street Samurais incredibly powerful. They then bring in third, and then it brought in these sort of psychic characters that were again unbelievably powerful. So anyway, long story short, I've been playing a lot of Shadowdark, and several of my subscribers were like, well, why haven't you reviewed, or why aren't you playing Neonbright then? And several of my subscribers were like, well, why aren't you talking about, or why haven't you played Neonbright? And I was like, I don't know what it is. And it is basically a Shadowrun hack for Shadowdark. So, before we get into the book itself, as ever, let's just jump straight over to Droithra RPG so you can see where you can pick it up. So here we have Neonbright, a Shadowdark fantasy, cyber fantasy hack by Cobberback Jack. From what I can see, this is their only book that's released so far. It's only 22 pages, which made me a little bit sad, because I thought it would be slightly longer than that for a Shadowrun sort of clone. But when we get into the book, you'll see it is a book of text. There is no artwork in the book, so the good news is you get quite a lot of information in here. I'm going to say it's probably one of the worst laid out books I've ever read. It's definitely a passion project. The stuff in the book is incredible, which is nice, and it makes up for it. So, and I think this is well, basically it means obviously you can pick it up as a PDF copy now, and I'm sure the creator probably will be looking at going backwards and forwards, because there's also some sort of spelling errors and other issues in here. But this really is the initial world book and a teaser of things to come, and I do like it lots. I just find it a little bit harder to read. Some of the issues probably in me, but I think, well, when I show you, you'll kind of see the slight annoyance that I have. If you are going to pick this up, and I deeply recommend that you do if you like Shadowdark and Shadowrun or Cyberpunk, any of those sort of games, because it's the world and the rules in here and the classes are absolutely brilliant. And hopefully over time, say the layout will deeply improve. But what it does also tease is another 4 books that the creator is working on. So, and I think by supporting this book, hopefully we'll then go and get the other books, because the other books are going to make this theoretically tremendous. What does this book include? So what we're going to get is, so Neonbright is a cyber fantasy hack for Shadowdark. It's set in the fantasy future of 1999, because obviously originally these were written for, well, Shadowrun, was written in the 90s. But it's allowed orcish cyborgs, dwarven street shamans, elvish cat burglars. So it does include a first level adventure and a character sheet. So if you do pick this up, please do consider using my affiliate link, because I do pay for things like this out of my own pocket. And for those that you are using my affiliate link, thank you so much. It's incredibly generous. It doesn't change the purchase price you pay, but all that happens is a percentage goes to me. And then I can use that money to put back into other reviews and other projects, like this video that I'm doing here. Right, so let's get over to things that are included. So we've got this 6-page mission. It is, I said, it's for first level characters up here, and it's basically breaking into a museum to pick up what you're going to need. Again, I don't want to spoil the mission itself, but you've got the maps here. So these are Games Master maps, but when we get to the back pages, we've got all the stats for all the creatures that they're going to interact with, some magical items, a random encounter table here, as well as a sort of 2-page player handout. So that's always good. And then you're going to get the character sheet included, because it's got this extra thing here, so aura, and then places here for cyberware, and obviously, but the rest of it pretty much looks the same. Oh no, we've got contacts as well, but the rest of that, it's practically the same. Right, let's just get into the front cover of the book. So here we have the front cover, Neonbright. It's different. It's bright and neonish. So, but you can't really tell a lot about it. But again, I don't know whether this is placeholder art. This is going to be what it is. What I never do in these is speak to the creator beforehand to try and find out information, because I'm judging it on what I've bought and what you will be buying if you buy it today. So here we have the first mistake, the fantasy future of 1991. Tabletop RPG says 1999. So there are some things in here like this throughout the book. But if this is the worst issues, and they are the worst issues, sort of grammatical and layout, beyond that, it is very good. So you are going to be in this Tephra city, which is a dwarven island city-state that's become a corrupt urban sprawl of neon-coated skyscrapers and decaying under-city slums. So you can think of things like Blade Runner, use that for your sort of influence, because there are no maps for the city. All this is coming, so if we support this book and the project, hopefully we can get the creator to go out and just make more. Here we have it. So the cover art and contents by Copperback Jack. We've got a table of contents here. So what's within the zine, which is here on the right hand side. Character creation, character classes, as you can see, hyperlinks. Fantastic work for that. Kindred spirits, which is related to the Mancer, which is your priest kind of class. Ronin is your warrior, fighter, ghost, thief, caster, mage. Then we've got some new gears and some rule changes for weapons and an actual section for a couple of other rules. Alignment is different in here. So out goes lawful and chaotic and neutral, and in comes 3 new things which we will see. Jobs and fixes and clients explains the people that set up the jobs for the player characters. Then we've got some sort of background world information on factions, and then a fantasy. It's also fantasy remember, which is kind of a remember you can include other fantasy creatures in here. So we're going to get straight into the zine, and this is the bit that talks about, this is the system core. So this is going to be the core rulebook that you would buy, and eventually ADHD willing, he will expand the hack. So the plan is to get a cybernetic rulebook, want to see that. A hacking and internet rulebook for combat as well, want to see that. Death by Depths, which is NPC and monster stat blocks, who doesn't want a bestiary in these sort of things. And then finally Suit and Sword, which is a sort of games master type site, because that's going to have more stat blocks, random tables, a breakdown of the big corporations and stuff in here. Right at the bottom here, it's just going to re-explain again that Neonbright is a cyber fantasy hack for Shadowdark, which, say, if you've played Shadowrun, you know exactly what you're getting. If you played Cyberpunk or any of those futuristic games, think that, throw in dragons, elves, goblins, all working alongside each other. Okay, so what are the shadows? So the shadows are the player characters. So you are a group of adventurers, you can say, but these are people that tend to have grown up in the slums, on the streets, that are doing jobs to make money, to feed themselves, to better themselves, as opposed to getting a proper job. It may be breaking in somewhere, it may be an assassination, it may be breaking in to plant something as opposed to steal things. A little bit of background into Tephra City. So this is the main city. I say a little bit. It's an independent city, state, tax haven of ultra-capitalists' wet dream. So the city itself, as it covers towards the back of the book, is pretty much run by guilds and corporations. Character creation is broken down into 12 sections. You're going to still need the copy of the core rulebook for Shadowdark for this. So you're going to roll your stats initially, pick your classes, ancestries, which will be in this book. I think theoretically, because it is a fantasy setting, even though futuristic, but based in the past, you could pretty much use any, I think, ancestries. I'd pretty much allow most ancestries for players, even if you wanted to pick up something like Chubby Funster's Games Masters Compendium, and that's got, I think, another sort of 30, or any of the other zines that you've got, because say it's a fantasy setting. Roll up your level 1 character with your talent, cross out your inventory slots as normal, pick your backgrounds, roll your contacts, choose your alignment between dishonest, neutral and honor, add some cyberware, You can't, because there's no cyberware in these rule books. That's coming in a later book. It does say for now you can create your own. There's ways of doing that, and you will be limited on your con bonus, the amount of cyberware that you can take. Again, this is why I want other people to support this. I want to see what's created with the cybernetics. Deal with all your combats and your aura modifiers as well. So your aura modifiers basically is your casting attack bonus based on either wisdom or charisma, depending on what you are. And then obviously your melee is going to go down on your strength modifier, and attacking, so range, is going to go down on your dex. Do your money, which does it slightly different. It goes into sort of tens and thousands of units as opposed to 1 or 2 gold, because it sounds better. Pick or roll your handle or your nickname, and then design a mask for the player. Straight into the book, we'll then be doing handles. Again, this is what I'm saying about it. It's kind of strange because handles is at point 11, I think, on character creation, and then it's the very next thing. It needs a bit of work for me. All the information's in here, apart from the cybernetics, but it's very hit and miss. So go and get your handles here. Roll your backgrounds anywhere, from a ganger to a nepo baby to a scientist, and then you're going to have a contact, and your contact will help you, because obviously the players are the sort of people that they're going to be streetwise. They're going to live on the streets. They're not really going to interact with the corporations to find roles, to find out information from media people. And this is where your contacts kick in. So they're like a socialite or a surgeon or a black market seller to help you get, explosions and weapons and things. The next couple of pages deals with the 4 character classes that come in the main book. So we've got the Ronin on the right-hand side here, which is a strength or dex base. This is your street samurai solo type character. Proficient in all weapons, all types of shields and armor, a d8 hit points, and then other than that, it's exactly the same as the fighter from Shadowdark. So it gets the whole grit and weapon mastery. Where it does change is in the talent table rolling here, especially the 11 to 12, which is going to allow you to re-roll a damage dice. That'll be important later. The Ghost is your dex-based thief equivalent, but these are sort of assassins, those sort of people. Proficient, clubs, daggers, swords, pistols, sniper rifles. They get light armor, but sadly only a d4 hit points. And again, they will get the backstab and thievery skills from the Thief in the Shadowdark rulebook. But on 1 or 2, when you roll the highest result on a damage dice, roll an additional dice. So they're going to get exploding dice. And, well, you know me. If you don't, exploding dice, my favourite mechanics. If you do know me, you've known me mention that several times before. So this is the class for me, because if you're going to give me an opportunity for exploding dice, that's what I'm going to go for. Key difference is on the 8s and 9s, you're going to get +2 to any stats on most of these classes. We then get the caster class. Instead of being based on intelligence, they are going to be based on wisdom. Only d4 hit points as you'd expect. Clubs, daggers, but pistols for these. And they get this third eye ability, which allows them to see the aura of other people, to sort of see, how cybernetic they are, what sort of magical powers and things like that. But the downside of that is if you are magical sensitive, you can notice that people are doing things back to them. And the spells they get to pick from, so they do get to pick the wizard spells books, but they also get to pick any of the spells from Cursed Scrolls Zine 3, which is the Seer spell list as well. Then finally we've got the Mancer, which is a charisma-based spell. I think most of us kind of like charisma-based casters because obviously when it's linked to something else, charisma becomes the dump stat. So it just allows you to have at least someone in the party with a little bit of charm and something about them. They're going to get clubs, daggers, swords, axes, pistols, submachine guns, shotguns, medium armor, and shields and d6 hit points. But they get the ability to turn spirits like the priest would with an undead, but it's going to be anything with the spirit subtext in their word. And then they're going to have a kindred spirit that works alongside them. So it gives you 6 examples in here, where we've got a dog, spider, mouse, cobra, monkey, and magpie. And essentially, so we'll just pick on the dog. So if the kindred spirit is the dog, your kindred spirit is all about loyalty to your friends or your pack. So you're being ready to bite anyone that will harm them. They don't really do any damage, but what they do is all of them will allow the player character to roll an extra d4 onto the d20 when they're doing something specific. So for example, because the dog's about protecting the pack, whenever they are protecting or helping out a downed ally, they're going to get an extra d4. The magpie here, which is all about treasure and seeking and finding it, for example, will get an extra d4 when you are perceiving, appraising, or physically stealing treasure. So not groundbreaking changing, but it's just a little addition that's going to give the Mancers a little bit of an edge when they are on the streets. We're then going to get into the gear, so new gear and changes. Big part of Shadowdark, obviously, is the light mechanic. This is a futuristic place with batteries. Conveniently, batteries only last an hour. So every hour, if the batteries aren't damaged, the players are going to have to replace it with a new battery. So you can buy a shadow lantern and the battery, or you can get a torch as well. The suppressor here, so that will stop different noises on different ranges, but every time you reload, the suppressor sort of breaks, and then you're going to have to go and buy a new one. So it's just, again, stops that just becoming ultimately powerful. Some rule changes for weapons, concealing weapons. Any two non-handed weapons can easily be concealed. However, they will be found if you are being patted down. Melee damage now does d4s as opposed to d6 or d8, and it does multiples. Because when we look back at the ghost ability, if they roll the maximum on a damage dice, it explodes. So we are rolling multiple d4s, 1 in 4 chance here then of getting an exploding dice, and then you can just explode the damage out. And this is done to keep the curve sort of melee damage being consistently slightly more damage, but range damage goes into 1 dice, but the range damage will go to a larger number. And with the Ronin power, if you roll a 1, you get to re-roll it. So here we have melee damage consistently should do a little bit more damage across the board, but guns have a chance to do more damage on a less average roll, if that makes sense. Weapons list here then is, as you'd imagine, for melee weapons. So it's just broken down into club swords, axes. It's not a type of sword, but you're going to have the Shadowdark core rulebook, so you can just use any of those in there as well as the prices and any sort of traits that run alongside the weapons. So again, you'll be used to seeing this. We've then got into the loud weaponry table, which is firearms, so pistols, SMG, shotguns, assault rifles, sniper rifles, nade launcher, which is obviously a grenade launcher, and then the weapon traits from things like finesse, thrown, two-handed, 2 slots, destructive, which is very good at doing additional damage into buildings. Some weapons might need loading. We'll come on to what happens. So there's no ammo slots in here, but we'll come on to that once we get into the Neonbright rule changes over here. Exploding weapons, blinding, incendiary, and then nade launchers. So these rule changes, gold pieces are out and in come megs, or Tefren megas, or known as megs. So 1 gold piece is worth 100, and that's purely because 10,000 for a job just sounds better than 100 gold. You can dual wield in this, and when you dual wield, you'll do 1 attack roll, but you get to roll the damage advantage, and then you just pick the highest one. Surefire spells. I like this. This is a good skill. So when Mancers or casters roll a spell casting check and fails, the spell will still go off, which I think is quite nice. So yes, they're going to lose the ability to cast spells until they take that big rest, but at least they're going to pull off what they were trying to do. Reload on a natural 1. Anytime a player rolls a 1, be it on any sort of range combat, from bows to firearms, click, dead man's click. You're not getting anything off, so you're just going to have to reload and put another ammo slot in there. And it says it works with crossbows and things, so you go out for the quiver and that quiver's empty, so you're gonna have to just move on to your next one. It's just, I like it. It's just nice, quick, and works into this. So spray and pray, if you've got a weapon with a spray ability, you can attack multiple targets. You attack everyone at disadvantage, and if you make a 1 at any stage, the spray stops, dead man click, and you might be timed to Roll on to the next one, hunker down. This is just burying yourself down behind something. All players are at disadvantage to attack you, but it doesn't allow you to sort of reach over the top and shoot at disadvantage. If you are hunkering down, you can't attack anyone. You can still do defensive spells and things to help your allies, but there's no attacking. Range versus melee, I always like it when games bring this in. So if you are shooting into melee and they are fighting one of your friends, if you miss them, you're going to hit your opponent. Brilliant. Love it. I always like that, and that adds that element of danger to shooting into melee. More importantly, if you are attacking someone with melee and you've got a pistol and they've got knives, they can attack you normally. You're attacking them at disadvantage. Do not bring a gun to a knife fight, technically. Doesn't make any difference for casting spells, as it clarifies, which is quite nice. The alignments are honor, neutral, and dishonor. So say out goes all the sort of lawful and chaotic stuff. So honor, obviously you've got a personal code of honor. I think people could quite easily abuse that. You're probably going to want to work with your players initially and just go, give me an idea of what your personal honor is. Neutral, you're just a pragmatist. You may have morals and personal codes, but they're kind of thrown away when things look dicey. Or dishonor, you'll just do anything you want. Lie, cheat, steal, kill. The next bit we're going to get into is fixers, jobs, and clients. So a key part of the game is going to be players having missions and sort of finding missions. There's not going to be a board up on a wall basically saying, Mr. Jones needs Steve killed on Wednesday. So what the players will do is they will have a fixer that will protect them, because one thing you don't want in these sort of worlds is being entrapped by the police. So you will work with the same fixer. The fixer will sound out the job to make sure it's not an entrapment, so it's not being set up by the police or a corporation. So they become responsible for the job. They will then offer the job to the players. The players will then complete the job. They let the fixer know. The fixer then takes the money from the person and then gives the money to the player characters after they take their 20 to 30%. Why wouldn't they? So if it's 10,000 megs job, the players are going to come out with 8 to 7,000. But it's just that little bit of distance, and this is a big part of Shadowrun, is working with different fixers to set up missions. We've then got a list of, I think it's about 8 different seven different job titles. So like a distraction job, escorting jobs, taking someone somewhere, extraction, getting them out, investigation, go and find out things. Plant, which is put something into a robbery, sabotage to vandalize or destroy, and smash and grab, sort of breaking in, like the introductory mission that comes alongside this. Privateers, writ of plundering, like the old pirates in the 17th and 18th century, but it's not quite as formal. But when you are on a mission, you can kind of help yourself to any of the other items that are lying around. Payment for jobs, the jobs tend to be between £5,000 to £10,000, megs, and you can roll a d12 to work out and then multiply it by 12. But if the person setting up the job is relatively poor, it says use a d6. If they're quite wealthy, use 2d12. Then finally, the rest of the book, so the last 3 pages, looks at the guilds and corporations. So we've got this guild corp, which is the main corporation. Again, a book is coming for that at some stage in the future that runs the city. We've then got 5 different corporations and businesses that do a variety of things, including this Vorgoth and Vale, which is a law firm headed up by a dragon. Finally, we then got government, so we've got like the Executive Council of the governments, the Tefran City Guards, the UP. We've then got the UDPD, which is the like police, dwarven-only police force, and then the sci-fi. And then finally into local factions, and there are 9 gangs here, including these 3 up here that I didn't realise were gangs initially, because the way there's no header for each of them. So we've got the Iron Crowns here as well, the 0 to 5s, and the Knight Society, which is Goths doing crime. Also remember, this is a fantasy futuristic setting, so you can include vampires, werewolves, mermaids, dragons, gargoyles, and spirits. You're going to want to use spirits because of the mancers. And finally, urban legends, be that sort of urban serial killers or mole men or slob goblins, anything along those lines. So that is everything that you get and included in your, what was that, £3, so that's about 450 US dollars, something like that. It's an amazing price for such a good book and information in there. So you get an adventure, you get the character sheet, you get everything you need to create your character, bar the cyberware. But I've got a hack for cyberware, because if you've played any other games, there's other things available, but you can make your cyberware easy. Because one thing that street samurais are going to want to do is have claws or hidden weapons. So there's no reason why you couldn't just take one of the existing guns and have it sort of replace the hand or pop out of the hand. So just, you can work with different things like dermal armor exists, so there's +1 to AC. So put realistic costs on, that's going to be the little bit that's going to be slightly difficult, but you don't have to worry about the decker side of things, and these are the people that plug into the systems and the computers to change the sort of street lights and the cameras and all that lot. It doesn't exist for now. I always found it actually the boggiest and worst part of Shadowdark and Cyberpunk, especially if only one of the party members was it. Hopefully it's going to do the rules light and fast and quick, because there was nothing worse in these sessions when a player would go, right, I'm going to get into the web, and then you got fight through all the different creatures and stuff that are like the computer programmers, and you could lose an hour to 2 hours of real game time, and everyone else is doing nothing. But I appreciate it's quite boring for the decker if they don't have them. So, but this is good, because this feels very much like a Shadowdark book should feel like. From adventures point of view, there's no adventures. Doesn't matter. Go and buy. If you're going to probably want to pick up some of the zines out there already, Letters from the Dark, there's so many more things that are out there. And I think you could quite easily take anything and just convert it into a modern day adventure. It's not going to be that hard work. It might be an ancient castle, turn it into a mansion house within the town, into the grounds, whatever it may be. You're going to want to make players go down into the grounds. So you're going to want to include sort of sewers and things like that. But so you could take a standard dungeon crawl, make it a sewer. Take a castle encounter, make it a manor house. I think this is an easy fix for an incredibly great game. I say value for money wise. I'm assuming you've bought this already. But if you are going to buy this, please do consider using my affiliate link. I say it just allows me to put it back in the channel. And Copperback Jack, if you're out there and you've ever watched this, please drop me a message down in the comment below. Let me know how you're getting on with the next 4 books. Really excited to see them. This is actually a fantastic book. I can't remember which subscribers told me to look at this, but thank you. I'm really pleased I've got it. If you are watching this video and I haven't covered something, please do, again, drop it down in the comments below. Come and find me on a variety of socials, Discord, Facebook, X, Blue Sky, kind of running, TikTok as well now. Yeah, I'm always happy to take recommendations, because this was a brilliant one and I'm really thankful that I've got this. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe to the channel. I'll let you know when we get more into Neonbright, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you for watching.